Whatever told you that some elite level athletes have breathing that's so efficient it breaks the rules of physiology as we know it? I've spent years, actually over a decade, studying respiratory performance. And what you're about to hear might change the way that you understand breathing, especially when it comes to the concept of CO2 tolerance. Most people think that breathing just is about relaxation, about slowing the breath down, about nervous system regulation and being able to tolerate more carbon dioxide. But at a certain level of mastery, something extraordinary happens. We're talking about a shift that goes from a closed system of gas exchange to an open circuit, as an analogy where oxygen and carbon dioxide flow with almost no resistance and almost no loss. Let's break down the science behind these advanced breathers, these individuals who are Olympic level endurance athletes, and what is it about their breathing that separates them from highly trained athletes, where they're achieving near mechanical perfection. I'm Martin McPhilimey, respiratory and sleep scientist and the founder of School of Breath Science, where we translate complex physiology into physical mastery. This is a short little clip from my journal club, where we broke down a new paper of looking at end-tidal carbon dioxide and using this as a measurement of performance in elite level athletes. And so what you're going to take is just some evidence to show that what is actually happening is near perfection in breathing. And whilst ventilation is low, breathing is slow, it has nothing to do with the Bohr effect. Let's dive straight in. I'm going to explain to you why their breathing is perfect. And this is where it comes to the end-tidal carbon dioxide. So they're breathing slower, and over time, the tidal volume is getting deeper. And what they're doing is they're reducing that ERV, so they're breathing right out, and then they're taking a big, deep breath in. So what does that do to dead space, do you think?
Reduces it.
Yeah, okay, so we have that dead space, right? 150 milliliters. If respiratory rate's higher, we lose gas to dead space. What it seems, though, these individuals have done is they've basically managed to get their breathing so perfect, it's gone from being a closed circuit to an open circuit. So as the air comes in, the oxygen gets straight across into the blood, it goes straight down into the system. That CO2 that's being produced in the cells is coming straight back up to the alveoli and going straight back out the mouth again. So what we're actually getting, the end-tidal carbon dioxide, is not arterial blood, it's venous blood. And that's why it looks like it's 40, 45, 50, 55 millimeters of mercury. Because their breathing is so perfect, they're actually getting the venous CO2 straight out the system. It's not getting diluted in that dead space, because that's what would usually happen. Imagine respiratory rate increases every time breathing stops, that air gets diluted. And so that would be a reflection of the air from the atmosphere, because it's diluted to atmospheric. But whereas respiratory rate's slower and it's deeper, now it's actually just being drawn straight out of the pulmonary capillary, straight into the airway and straight back out. And that's what's getting detected by the end-tidal carbon dioxide. That's what's getting detected by the system. That's how efficient that breathing is. It's become an open circuit. That's wild. What evidence is there here to suggest that usually when we see an increase in end-tidal carbon dioxide, the goal would be that, okay, and what we're also seeing is respiratory acidosis. That would mean we'd get an increase in CO2 and therefore we'd get an increase in Bohr effect and therefore we'd get greater oxygen delivery. That's the oxygen advantage. However, their VO2 max was the same. The velocity max was roughly similar. And between the long distance high performers and the lower performers, lactate was the same as well, suggesting that there isn't a systemic change in oxygen usage or the energy systems. And the fact that we do have a lower ventilation and improved ventilatory equivalence suggests that it's more mechanical gas exchange, more mechanically improvements there, and it's open circuits. Likely, if you were to measure arterial blood gases here, they would probably be perfect around 40. And so whilst it might look like, again, if you were to pick that data and go, end-tidal carbon dioxide's higher, better performers, could be more oxygen advantage, it doesn't seem like that in this case. And so that starts to make you question this kind of concept of nasal breathing. And I'd love to see in advanced adapted nasal breathers, what does the measure of the arterial gas, like from the blood, what does that look like? Or are we getting a similar effect in terms of a dead space is getting so matched well that we're just seeing greater ventilatory efficiency? And so again, I don't think it is biochemical drivers. I don't think it's changes in CO2 tolerance, let's say, in these individuals. It's more so just mechanically They're just so much more efficient and they just have such a great relationship. So this paper does not offer any evidence to suggest that the Bohr effect is actually changing, but it does offer a lot of evidence against it not existing in these individuals. So if you enjoyed this breakdown, this is just the surface of what we teach in the School of Breath Science. You can join our community of breath coaches, practitioners, professionals who are there to raise the standards of scientific understanding in the breathwork space. You'll find live sessions, deep discussions, evidence-based resources. This will all help master your work. So head over to schoolofbreathscience.com/community, or just simply give us a follow on Instagram at School of Breath Science to keep learning. We can breathe smarter, let's go deeper, and become a part of a movement that's redefining how we can use the science of breathing.